What's going on? What's going on? 3 deep breaths. Hopefully y'all can hear me. I don't know. Let me see here. Let me know if you actually can hear me in the chat, because I'm not sure. Let's see. All right, welcome everybody back for another live, a weekly live at Fran. That's what we're calling it these days, till something changes. Oh man, if you're on YouTube, let me know if you can hear me. What's going on? What's going on? What's up? What's up? Waiting for folks to come in. What's going on? Love, peace, light. To hear up. This text up is just, it's too much. It's too much. I'm a few minutes late. I don't know if y'all can hear me on YouTube. You know, I'm trying to be better for y'all. Trying to live and on multiple devices and stuff, you know. Trying to get all fancy, and I'm still figuring it out, so I appreciate y'all patience. Welcome to another live. We're going to talk about stop playing small. This past weekend was wild. I went to actually, my nephew spent the night, and my nephew has a lot of energy. And I thought to myself, I used to do this. Some of you know I'm a mom. My son's a lot older. He's 25, and I thought to myself, I really used to do this full time. What's going on, Christina? And now I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get fancy to here. You know what I'm saying? Pretty soon I'll be doing it on 3 devices. I don't know. Watch out. But I realized, wow, are kids that energetic these days? Have they always been that energetic? Because I'm not, I don't know. I couldn't find my quiet place. Get some tea. We're going to get started soon, shortly. Hey, Christina. Thank you for joining us. I don't know if anybody's on YouTube. Let me know if you can actually hear me. I don't know. So we'll just see where this takes us. What's going on, Quebec Beauty? Good to see you again. Henna, all y'all stopping by. Let's see here. I think we're just going to get started. I'm a little behind because I was trying to figure out this whole stuff. 2-year-old is busy. Okay. See, my nephew he's 9, and I'm just like, bruh, can we just sit down for a second? Please? He had us running out in the field. Oh my gosh. He was like our coach. Me and my son were just tired after that. But we're going to get started soon. My Thrive community is closed. I'm really excited. We have a few folks that decided to take the leap of faith. So I'm looking forward to working closely with them. If you missed out on the opportunity, let me know, send me a DM, and I'll add you on the wait list for when it opens up. It's not something I'm going to keep open throughout the year or something, just because I want to preserve the intimacy of the community. And I'll just see how it goes with the first few members, and then we'll take it from there. But if you want to be on the wait list, be sure to reach out to me, and I'll put you on the wait list for when it actually goes live again. I'm not sure. What's going on, Kim? Meh. And also, if you would like to go a little bit deeper, you can get my free 125 self-reflection questions that will change your life. A lot of people have said it's been helpful. Absolutely free. It's a link in my bio. You can do that as well. And so today we're going to talk about what it means to play small in your life, right? I think a lot of people underestimate their capabilities, and they overestimate other people's capabilities because of this constant comparison trap. So you'll see me bounce back. I'm be on YouTube and I'm be over here and I'm go there. So that's what's going on here. But yeah, a lot of folks get caught up in the comparison trap as well. Usually. And it's really a dichotomy, really, if you think about it. Because if you look at the history of humankind and all the beautiful things that we've been able to create, and not so beautiful things, but all of these things that we're able to create is really a reflection of our ability to really do wonders with ourselves and with our lives. But yet there is a vast majority of individuals who are just waiting in the wings. So I don't know if that's you. If you're waiting in the wings, then maybe this message might be a little spark that you might need to sort of, get that flame going and get you moving again. But playing small is something a lot of us do, or have done, or are still doing, right? And it's really tempting because it sort of shields us from the pain of rejection, or the uncertainty, right? It's like this false sense of protection from the unknown. But we all desire to live a very purposeful life, right? So, but starting can be really challenging for a lot of folks because we often delay, thinking, I'll do it next time, next year, after I finish this, whatever it is, when things settle down, when things calm down. And that day never arrives. I was actually, me and my partner were like planning something, and I was like, maybe we'll do it like at the end of the year. And then she said, nothing's promised. And I was like, true that. I'm actually attending 2 funerals this week. My cousin's best friend passed away, and his brother passed away same week. It's been a wild last 2 weeks. Excuse me, last 2-3 weeks. So yeah, our physical form here on earth is finite, but so we have an opportunity to really do some amazing things, and hopefully this conversation kind of inspires you to do that. And if you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask those questions. I'm checking on YouTube. I'm not sure if anyone can hear me. If not, I'll figure it out. But I used to play small too. I mean, there are times where I'm like, and then, thankfully I have my partner and friends and folks around me who sort of like say, Francis, just go for it. Because there are times where I've sort of like just been hiding in the shadows, and even wanting to launch this community is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I haven't done it. Even I can remember like back in grad school when, and if I said this story before, you've heard it before, my apologies, but back in grad school, what's going on, Smart Move? It's been a minute. I had an opportunity to take this leadership certificate course, and I didn't do it because I was just like, I was nervous about it. I felt very like doubtful and just didn't believe in myself to actually do it. And it would have looked good on paper, although I'm sort of out of that matrix. And I remember talking to a friend who actually did that, and she was like, you could have done it. It wasn't even that difficult. It wasn't what I created in my mind was way worse than the reality. And we often do that, right? When we're getting ready to do something big within our lives, we actually make up all of these stories at how terrifying it probably is, right? And usually it's not as scary as we may think or feel, but we've sort of created this fear. But, as a young age, a lot of us have been sort of told to settle, right? Play it safe. Live a very realistic life. But there's really no passion in settling for less than what you deserve, less than what you believe you can create. I asked somebody to check to see if they can actually hear me on YouTube. Man, they said they can't hear me. Oh no, I've been talking. Let's see here. They can't hear me. Well, I don't even know what to do if you can't hear me, Hold on 1 second, y'all. Is there a tech person in the house? All right, let's see. The mic is on. Thanks, Jack. I'm trying to see. YouTube can't hear me, so I'm not sure why. That's the first time I used Zoom to stream, testing out all these different softwares. Oh, there it is, I think. Okay, let's see. All right, let me know again. Thanks for your patience. Let's see. I just gave permission for my. What's going on, Lily? I just gave permission for my mic, so maybe that'll help. No, it says search your voice. I don't know. All right, YouTube will not be able to hear this live, and I'll just upload it later. But yeah, so from a very young age, we're sort of like, oh, you going to party? Look at you. On what day is it? On a Wednesday? But yeah, we've been taught, like, be safe. Take the safe route. You're over here now? Yeah, I don't know. No one can hear me over there, so my apologies. All right. But yeah, we're taught to take the safe route. We're extrovert problems, yeah. You can keep that over there. We're taught to live a very realistic life, and but the real power really lies in you claiming everything that you desire. That's where the real power lies. In fact, there's this quote by Nelson Mandela I'll read to you. It says, "There's no passion to be found in playing small and settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living." It's just, if you're gonna be here, you might as well do it big, you know what I'm saying? And not big in the way that you think, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But let me see here. Okay. But playing small is a choice. It really is, it's a choice. It's a choice driven by fear, but it actually does not have to define your journey. We often find ourselves in situations where we think we can't do something or be something or shouldn't do something, or we believe others will actually do it better, or we're afraid of judgment, and so that makes us shrink. We're playing big. Yes, the life will be saved. Beauty. Playing big isn't about ego or arrogance, right? It's really about finding the courage within yourself to push beyond your own limitations. It's about finding and seizing those hidden opportunities. When those opportunities present themselves to you, it's about grabbing those opportunities, right? And also embracing some of those challenges, even though they seem like, man, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't even know. And you are often hear, like, don't concern yourself with the how. Just go for it, right? And often people say, oh, it's easier said than done. And so sometimes you do have to practice, right? You have to practice those fear muscles. I had a client today, and I actually suggested that she do improv. Something I always recommend, to work over the idea of being perfect, to get past being perfect, get past people like judging you. Because when you're an improv, like, everyone is starting at the same place, and just sort of letting down their inhibitions and going for it. And so that sort of helps you to be able to just let go, be messy, and play. And she's gonna do it, and I can't wait to hear how it goes for her. But the world needs more awakened individuals, and I don't mean like namaste awakened individuals. All I mean is like what I mean is just people who are awakened to their own personal power and their own uniqueness. That's what the world needs. The world doesn't need any more people that look like Wonder Bread. You know what I'm saying? Everybody looking like the same sliced bread. Like, we need more uniqueness. We need more creativity. We need people to be their truest selves. Yeah, surrendering to the moment. Yeah, improv, please do it if you can, for sure. Whoa. Simon over there got some boxes. I've never seen that before. Is that in the emoji? Oh, that's new. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask any questions. But, I believe that we're all meant to live authentic and vibrant existences. Sometimes it takes us a little while to get there. I feel like for me, it's been the last, I don't know, maybe 7 years where I'm actually like really living, and where the majority of my life was just like a blur of just disaster and chaos and fear and all these other things. And it's the first time in my life where I actually feel like, wow, I kind of like being here. I kind of like being on Earth. I'm kind of enjoying myself. But it took a long time to get there, and a lot of dismantling that I had to do, and shed a lot of layers. Beauty says, I have this urge to nickname you Lily Palooza. I don't know why. You know what? She would do well as a Lily Palooza. That's actually really funny. Maybe if I close this out, that'll work. Anyway, don't give her any ammo, because Lily will take it and run with it. She'll do wonders with it. But yep, she told you she's probably gonna have a whole shirt, and it's gonna be a whole skit, and it's gonna turn into something. But yeah, so we really have the ability to live vibrant existences. And we're here to fulfill really a unique mission. All of us are. And that unique mission will bring greater meaning to our time here on Earth. It's almost like, if you're going to be here, like I said earlier, if you're going to be here, you might as well enjoy the ride, right? But we have to decide. That's what I always come back to. We have to make the decision to no longer play small. And then we have to realize, like, what does that entail? Okay, I've said yes, but what does that entail? And we'll get into that a little bit later. But as I was, preparing myself for this live, I came across this thing called the Jonah Complex. And baby, you might know this. I've never read the Bible, but a psychologist, Abraham Maslow, called the idea of playing small the Jonah Complex. I don't know if anybody heard of that. If any of my Bible thumpers in there, probably there ain't no Bible thumpers in here, but live it up, Jack. That's right. I was curious to find out what the Jonah Complex was, so I did a little research. And again, I've never read the Bible. I don't know anything about the Bible. What's going on, Steph? But it's actually a biblical story. And I thought, oh, okay, this kind of works well with our conversation. So in this story, Jonah is a reluctant prophet, right? He disobeys God. God had called him to preach to the wicked city of Nineveh. You've heard this story. I think you probably told me about this story. He said, let's hear it. And so Jonah, he hears God tell him, hey, you need to go over this city and preach to the city. And Jonah's like, nah, I ain't doing it. Okay. So he flees the opposite direction. But the direction that he's headed to is actually a storm. It's a storm at sea. And so he actually gets thrown overboard and is swallowed up by a whale, fish, whomever. Depends who's telling the story. And that was sent by God, right? And so Jonah's in the fish's belly. And, when you're sort of like in your trials, you get to a sort of a space of acceptance, right? And Jonah begins to express his gratitude. And eventually the whale, fish, whomever releases him. But he's released near the city of Nineveh, where God calls him again. And Jonah this time is like, fine, I'll do it. He obeys the calling, right? And so he delivers this brief sermon to this entire city, and the city changes and everything is much better, right? What's going on, y'all? Welcome, Terry and Destiny. And so he does this and he saves the city, but then he finally admits to God and says, listen, all right, I did it. I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to show anybody no mercy. I wanted that whole city destroyed. Of course, God is like very displeased with Jonah and is like, didn't like Jonah's selfishness, and uses a plant to illustrate the importance of divine love for all creatures, all beings. So here's Jonah, this rebellious prophet who initially resists his divine mission, faces these trials at sea, and eventually obeys to bring about Nineveh's repentance. So that story sort of highlights a lot of our stories in very different ways. It highlights obedience. Am I going to listen to the call? It highlights mercy, compassion, and also love for all. But at the core, the Jonah Complex is really the fear of one's own greatness or potential, right? People who, are working through this sort of complex, this feeling of playing small, often feel, unworthy, inadequate when faced with opportunities to ascend, right? Transcend, or opportunities for self-realization. And self-realization is just a fancy term for being able to fulfill your own potential, your greatest potential. And so those who play small will find themselves engaging in a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors. You're all familiar with these behaviors, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. And those self-sabotaging behaviors come in many forms. It could be procrastination, right? That's self-sabotaging. Avoiding any kind of challenges. I'm going to stay away from that because it's just too hard, it's too difficult. Or you might undermine your own efforts. You might be doing something that's amazing, but you undermine it, right? And so Jonah attempted to avoid his divine mission. And so it's kind of like you. Like, are you avoiding your own personal divine mission in life, right? And are you avoiding the responsibilities that come with that divine mission, right? The Wanderous Adventure, aka Babe, says, don't forget the delayed progress of your own journey as a result of playing small. Stuck in the belly. Good story to connect to the message. Stuck in the belly, yes. The more that you delay, the longer it just all takes, right? And then we look back like, man, I could have been doing this. I could have been doing this all along. So, most people who are playing, I'm about to get to the hero's journey. You already know, child, it's just the best illustration is the hero's journey. Not accepting the mission, not accepting the call. And often, like, when people are playing small, there's this misconception, right? They mistaken it for humility. Oh, I'll let Bob do it because he's just so much better, I'm just going to allow him to do it up. The people actually convince themselves that being modest by downplaying their abilities or what they've created, when in reality, they're just avoiding to be seen in that way. They're avoiding to play big. They're avoiding to go into the arena. They're avoiding their true potential. So there's no humility in playing small. Okay, you're not doing anyone a favor. You're literally delaying your own potential, your own growth, your own progress, as Babe said over there. And so sometimes if we're playing small, we actually believe that external forces such as luck or circumstances are responsible for whatever it is that you're creating, or responsible for the failure. So you think something out there is responsible for whatever is going on in here. And so this external locus of control can actually prevent you from taking charge of your life. And that locus of control just really refers to how much control you feel that you have of your own behavior or the things that are happening in your life. And so most of us at some point will retreat from what is authentic to us and actually settle for less. We just settle. We just say, oh, it's not for me, it's not my time, forget about it. And most people occasionally ignore their inner calling, that hero's journey call. And they ignore it for so long that later in life, you realize you're really dissatisfied, right, with your life. You might even have a window. You might have been able to look back and see, wow, there was a window, there was an opportunity there for me that I sort of just bypassed because I refused to answer the call. And so sometimes what happens though, like when people, like you get asked to do something that's goes beyond your comfort zone, and then people will actually distract themselves and say, well, I just got to count my blessing. I got this paycheck here, and I got this nice house. I'm just going to count my blessing. I'm not going to rock the boat. I'm not going to go off to this opportunity, whether this opportunity means you're moving to a new city or a new country. No, things are good here. I'm just gonna stay right here, count my blessings. And can be a trap. That really can be. If it feels authentic to you, it feels right to you, then fine. If it ain't, broke, don't fix it. But if you're feeling out of alignment, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling dissatisfied and discontent, then it's time to rock the boat. You know what I'm saying? It's time to rock the boat. And so the hero's journey was coined by Joseph Campbell. You hear it often. All movies are made from the hero's journey. The hero receives the call and then refuses it until Yoda or somebody comes in and says, hey, listen, you got to answer this call. Something happened, something drastic, traumatic. And we do the song and dance. And then eventually we say yes. Yeah, it's a cop-out. Yeah, it definitely can be a cop-out, depending on, where you are in your life. But so we refuse the call. We're naturally like conservative. We're like risk averse as humankind, generally, right? There's only a small percentage of folks who actually like dream so big that they go for it. We may not like a lot. Well, I don't. I'm not gonna speak for other people, but there are some folks out there who are doing some crazy things, but they just believe that they could. You know, you got your Microsofts and your Apples, peoples. I ain't gonna say no names. They're doing some things just because they believe they could, right? And we're out here not doing our thing, right? And so, because we're conservative by nature, and so we seek to sort of protect, right? We protect our investments. Like, this 401k ain't going nowhere. We protect the skills that we've learned. Like, we've learned over the lifetime, like there are things that you have learned that have made you so well equipped to go after whatever it is that you are desiring to go after. But you don't share a lot of those skills, right? You don't put it out there. Then we want to protect our own self-perceptions, whether they're accurate or not. And so our greatest fear is really that our sense of self might plunge into chaos. And I say that's a prerequisite. You gotta go into a little bit of chaos. It's part of the process, right? You're in balance, then you go topsy-turvy, then you find your balance again, you come back to self, you come back to wholeness. But so if we actually follow the call, it will actually contradict what we're trying to preserve, the things that we're trying to protect. It's a double-edged sword, right? And so all of this is one big old initiation. And I'm actually thinking of doing a big old video about initiations, because life is just one big initiation. But it's an invitation. It's an invitation to be initiated into stepping it up and playing it big and stepping into your fullest self. The unknown chaos is part of the process, 100%, Billy. So we get invited into this potentially big thing, right? It's being presented to us. What happens? The mind starts to play tricks on you, right? It starts to say, hey, it's going to start making you question, like, I don't know if you're competent enough to do that. I don't know if you're smart enough to do that. Then it starts wondering, I don't know if you got the discipline to do that. I don't know. We got to check that worthiness. The mind just starts playing all these ridiculous tricks. Trust me, I've been there. I've talked myself out of a lot of things. And I've talked myself out of a lot of things. And the mind the mind doesn't have any facts. I'm sorry. The mind is, we have to check it. I was going to go off a tangent, but I'm going to try to stay focused. And so it's really going to talk you out of whatever it is that you're thinking big about. That's really the mind's job. Let's get logical and facts. And sometimes the mind is okay in a sense, like when you're emotionally running into sort of like a fearful, anxiety-ridden turmoil. Sometimes I say using logic against some of those fears will help. But on the grand scheme of things, the mind will talk you out of a lot of things, because we value intelligence and thinking. And so because you value the intellect, the intellectual part of the process, you get sort of wrapped up into that process versus just leaning into your heart. And so these feelings will intensify the longer that you ignore it, right? If you believe your call also comes directly from something bigger than you, a higher power or whatever it is, you will begin to just kind of feel like suffocated because you're not on your true path. And so fear of failure isn't just about failing in your eyes. It might even just be failing in the eyes of the divine, like your big grand purpose. So it feels way heavier than normal. Kind of reminds me of this quote by Marianne Williamson. She wrote this book called Return to Love. I haven't read it. It's on my list. I have a long list. And you might have heard this quote before, but she says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Right? Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? And then she says, actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. And then she continues to say, your playing small does not serve the world. Okay, there is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. And we are all we're all meant to shine as children do. So my question for you tonight, if you're catching the replay, is how do you play small? How have you been playing small in your life? How have you been hiding behind the shadows, the trees, the wastebasket? Like, how have you been playing small? How have you been sitting behind closed doors, afraid to be seen? Some of you are waiting to be asked. If you wait to be asked, opportunities may never come. So don't wait for permission to showcase your talents or to share your insights or to share whatever it is that you want to share or do whatever it is that you want to do. Some of you are stuck with fear and criticism. We already know fear. I always say use fear as a compass. Let it be your guide. If you are feeling fear, then that's the direction that you need to go. So don't let fear deter you. Use it as feedback on your journey, and use it as a compass to live a wildly beautiful life, right? And don't let criticism deter you. First of all, be sure whoever is sharing that criticism towards you, make sure they have a leg to stand on, and just use criticism as a tool to just be better. Use it as feedback. And it's not, you don't have to accept everything that is said, right? My partner always says, eat the meat, spit out the bones. Another thing is, some of you might be stuck in the expert trap. The expert. I've got to know all of this. Man, you do not need to be an expert. I have seen people put stuff together and create things just because they believe they could, right? They don't have any expertise or anything. But the passion, people are attracted to that passion, that conviction, right? But there's a lot of people doing a lot of things that they don't know nothing about, okay? No shade to them, But if you think about your coworker at work, we all have that coworker that man, how did they get promoted again? They don't know their job. They don't know what they're doing. What's going on, Christina? Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. There's a lot of people out there, okay? All right? If you just believe yourself just a smidgen, you would be just taking off. But know that your expertise, if you want to label it as such, develops over time. Your art will evolve. What you're becoming an expert at now will change, especially as you deepen your understanding and knowledge of self. And we all get stuck in these labels, right? That really, at the end of the day, really have no meaning. What is an expert to whom? Most of us are just figuring things out, figuring out a lot of things along the way. And a lot of people don't know what they're doing, okay? Most people are just figuring stuff out. And you just learn along the way. Some of you may not want to face vulnerability. Pursuing your desires, that greatness within, feels scary. What's going on, Mimo? Hope I'm saying that right. But it's worth it. It really is, because you have to think about what is the trade-off? If I don't do this thing that I'm feeling called to do, which feels very big to me, what is that trade-off? Maybe you're holding on to a book that needs to be published, but you haven't published it because you fear being vulnerable. You fear somebody looking at it, not liking it. You fear having negative reviews or whatever it is. You know, a quote that I always remember that I learned during my real estate days, when I used to follow a lot of like motivational speakers, it's by Les Brown. He always says, live full, die empty. Live full, die empty. And it's not necessarily about accumulating things in your life. It's not about that, but it's about like making sure that you tantalize all of your senses in a very beautiful, like become alive, like find ways to be alive. So in the current season that you're in, you know, think about, is this something or a place that you want to be in for the rest of your life? Like, could you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years being in this moment? You know, understand that the discomfort and the vulnerability are requirements at this thing called life. Whether you want to be in a relationship, job, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, vulnerability and discomfort is a requirement to a beautiful life, a meaningful life. It goes hand in hand. There's no avoiding it. So the sooner you can find ways to build a lot of that resilient, like expand those muscles, the more likely that your life will change. Live and let them witness it. Oh, snap. That sounds like a t-shirt. I definitely wear that. Some of you are silencing your voice. Your voice is that special sauce. No one can do it like you do. No one can say it like you say it. So find whatever barriers that are preventing you from connecting to the power of your voice so the world can see your brilliance. My voice was something that I had to work through a lot. That throat chakra was blocked for so long. And I just had to put myself in spaces that forced me to speak, you know? And that's how you get better at things. You just have to put yourself in spaces. You know, I was the person that like raised my hand last. And when I did, because in high school I was just like really quiet, but when I got to college I decided, okay, I'm going to sit in the front of the classroom and I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to be the first person to raise my hand. And I stopped sitting in the back. I stopped waiting for others and seeing what other people had to say. Some of those things you just have to practice. Like, in what small scale can you begin to just raise your voice? It could just be like changing your order at a restaurant. If you're used to saying, no, it's okay, never mind. Say, yeah, I want something different. Say it kindly. Say it with kindness and love. But, you know, speak your mind, right? Find whatever barriers that are preventing you from raising that voice. And even if people don't see your brilliance, it doesn't even matter. What matters is that you are true to yourself, because most people are not living true to themselves. So if you are able to live true to yourself, man, you're just like way ahead of the game, right? And another thing is, some of you might be stuck at no. There's this founder that I know, her name is Sharita, and she says no means next opportunity. So I always think about that. I'm like, oh, that's smooth. Next opportunity. Yes, the wanderer, speak your truth. And I'll add, I'm sure you heard this before, but rejection is redirection, and all of it is part of the process. I never question the detours anymore. I used to get really hung up on the detours. Like, why did this happen? Why didn't this happen? And I don't question them anymore. I just allow them to be, because if it was for me, it'd be for me. And if it's not for me, I'm going to let it go. Obviously, you know, put some effort into it being for you. But if it ends up not being for you, move on, right? Some of you are not sure what to prioritize. Maybe you have a lot of beautiful, big ideas. The first thing I'll say is throw away that linear thinking, that binary process. That linear thinking is just matrix stuff, right? It's like, oh, first the degree, then the house, then the car, then, you know, all that. No. Life is not linear like that. Just focus on what truly matters to you. Focus on the experiences that light you up, that are connected to your heart. Let go of what drains you and do more of what energizes you. Okay? Some of you are distracted by the noise. I did a whole video about this on my YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And just get quiet. You know, get still and don't let others dictate your choices. You know, part of this process is learning how to trust yourself. Some of the issues of like playing it quote unquote big is that trust within self, trusting that you can actually do this thing. Know that you're fully equipped to walk this path. Like, we didn't come here with any kind of lack at all. We came here fully equipped. So keep that in mind. Some of you are minimizing what you've been able to create and the experiences that you've persevered through. Acknowledge yourself first. And you're the only one that needs that, right? You don't need anyone else to give that to you. All right, Mimo Thrak says, when something negative happens, what helps you shift your perspective into positive one? Yeah, find that shift. What usually happens for me, something negative happens, I allow myself go through it, talk to my partner, put some music on, something. I'll dance, shake, write, read, and get myself back into equilibrium. Playing small does not serve the world. It really doesn't, and it doesn't serve you. Okay, so choose to reach your dreams, right? Whatever it is that you want to create, go after it. Remember that everything that you desire is there, just waiting for you, though. It's all just waiting for you to grab hold of it, to take action. But you have to remember that you can't create the wildly beautiful life that you want to create and play small at the same time. What's going on, Sabrina? So you got to decide. I always say you can't hold on and let go. You can't hold on and let go. You got to decide. You can't have both, okay? And you don't settle for less than what you deserve. I'm nearing the end of this, but we've been conditioned to play small because society wants us to constantly conform and play it safe, to be slaves to the paradigm. Now I'm going down conspiracy theories. So a group of people that are timid and fearful are a group of people that can be easily controlled. Okay? So when you actually go outside of that space, you're really challenging that paradigm at its deepest core. A lot of us are afraid to put ourselves out there. We're too afraid to be who we are. We'd rather be the person everyone else wants us to be. Okay? And we have to shift that. Find all the barriers within yourself that allows you to shift that narrative. So, what's going on, Black Girl? Affirmations. Oh, that's fine. Affirmations. Okay, play on word. But that's not going to be you, right? After this live, you're going to feel that spark. You're going to go for it. You're going to begin chipping away at some of those narratives and get to work. The world needs your big ass dreams, your crazy ideas, and all of the wonderful, beautiful things that you are wanting to create. There's this quote by Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul. I can't remember if I read that book. It's such an old book. But one of the things that he says is everything you want is out there waiting for you to ask. Everything you want also wants you, but you just have to take action to get it. So do something that you've been putting off. Maybe take a moment and explore why you continue to hold yourself back. And do something that makes you feel really big. Okay? My Thrive community is closed. If you want to get on the wait list for whenever I decide to open it up, be sure you do that. And again, get my 125 self-reflection questions that will change your life. It's free. Link in the bio. You can go on the website. But yeah, the link is in the bio. I appreciate y'all chatting with me tonight. We went on longer than I thought. But I'll be back next Wednesday, usual time. And hopefully by then I'll figure out this multi-channel live stream thing. If anyone has any tips on that, please. I've watched so many YouTube videos and I still ain't getting it right. But thank you for joining me tonight, and I will see y'all on the other side of wholeness, and I'll see y'all next week. Take care. Bye.